Hello, welcome to my bookshelf, and today I wanted to do the mid-year freakout tag. So this is just a compilation of questions to help gauge how my reading has been so far and hopefully where I want to go in the second half of the year because July marks the second half of the year, which is crazy to me. I can't believe that the year's halfway over already. So let's just jump on in. The first question is, what was the best book that you have read so far this year? This one was very easy for me to pick out. It was definitely The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. It really standds out. Not only is it just a really well-told story, but it's also a really important story for our time. And I think that it was just really good for everything that it was trying to do, and it was just fantastic. So it's definitely The Hate U Give. The next question is, what is the best sequel you've read so far? And this would have to be Gemina by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. This is the second book in the Illuminae Files trilogy, and it's honestly everything that a good sequel should be. It's its own unique contained story, but it's also a good continuation of what was set up in the first book, and it's just great. I think it's a lot of fun, just like the first one was, and it's just as engaging and interesting, so it didn't really seem to lose anything. Sometimes sequels tend to not do the greatness that was the first one very well. It seems to kind of fall short a lot of the times, but that was not the case with Gemina. It was fantastic. And kind of going off of that, the next question is, what new release haven't you got to yet? And also, what book do you need to finish this year? I am combining these two questions because my answer is the same for both of them, and that is Obsidio by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. This is the epic finale to the Illuminae Files trilogy, and I'm super excited for it. Obsidio is also the only book that I've ever pre-ordered, ever, so that's kind of my reasoning for why I feel the need to finish it right away. Because it seems silly to pre-order something and then have it sit on your shelf for such a long time without reading it. Just seems kind of silly. So I will definitely be reading Obsidio this year. In fact, it's on my July TBR. The next question is, what is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? That would have to be this Black Mirror anthology book that's going to come out. I love Black Mirror, and I am just so excited when I found out that they were going to write a book, and then when I looked it up, I didn't even realize that it was going to come out this soon, so I'm just extra excited now. The series, like the TV show, is also an anthology, so it's its own, each episode is a self-contained story, and there isn't any direct connection between stories, though it does seem to be kind of within the same universe, if you will, because most episodes deal with, futuristic technology, so some of the technology seems somewhat similar between episodes, so that's why there's kind of all these theories about it being in a connected universe. But either way, it's a very dark show, so, just a warning, it's a very adult as well, but it's such a thought-provoking, interesting show. I mean, this is not something to binge, though, admittedly, because the topics are all very dark for the most part. It's a lot, it kind of drains you a little bit, but I think the stories are just really interesting and engaging, so I highly recommend it. That's why I'm just so excited for the book. So this is just going to be like the book form of the show. So they're going to be new stories that are, I'm assuming, set in the same universe, and they're going to be creepy and dark and thought-provoking, just like the show. So I'm super excited for it. The next question is, what was the most disappointing read so far this year? That would have to be The Lord of Opium by Nancy Farmer. This is the sequel to The House of the Scorpion. And some background on me. The reason why I think The Lord of Opium was so disappointing was because I absolutely loved The House of the Scorpion so much. I reread it like 3 or 4 times, which for me is very unusual. So I knew the story inside and out. I absolutely loved it. So honestly, any sequel is going to pale in comparison to me. I kind of put the first one so high up on a pedestal. It just doesn't really live up to the first one to me, so it was disappointing. The next question is, what was the biggest surprise this year? So kind of going the opposite route. So a book that I thought was going to be just okay, but ended up really blowing me away, and I really ended up enjoying. So for me, this was Saints and Misfits by S.K. Ali. I got this from the library. I had never heard of it before, so honestly I didn't really have any expectations, but I was kind of nervous about picking it up because there have been several times where I DNF books that I get from the library because they seem kind of cool, but I get home and then they're just not the books for me. And so I figured this might be another case of that. But then when I read it, it really blew me away, and I believe I ended up giving it 5 stars. So I ended up really, really liking it. So it was a really happy surprise for me, honestly. The next question is, who is your new favorite author? This is hard for me. I feel weird saying someone's my favorite author when I've only read one of their books. But there were some authors that really stood out to me that I will definitely be checking out more of their work. So maybe they will become an official favorite author. But of the authors that I have read only one book of theirs this year that I'm really excited about, I would say that I'm obviously excited to read more from Angie Thomas, who wrote The Hate You Give. That goes without saying. Celeste Ng as well. I read Everything I Never Told You, and that was really just absolutely fantastic. I definitely will be reading more from her. The next question is, who is your newest fictional crush? I don't have one. I don't have any fictional crushes, really. It's not something I do when I read books, so I don't really have an answer for this. I know it's kind of lame, but sorry. The next question is, who is your newest favorite character? I wanted to go in a different route with this question. I could obviously name off some of the characters from some of my favorite books this year. But I wanted to highlight some other books that I read this year that I felt that even though the book itself didn't get the highest rating from me, I felt that these characters really stood out despite the fact that the book itself wasn't the best. There's a lot more going off that's really loud. But anyway, I picked Melanie from The Girl with All the Gifts and May from The Circle. Both characters, I think, are a little bit of unusual protagonists, but I found their point of views to be really, really interesting, and they really, really stood out as being probably the best part of their respective books. So they really made the book better, even if the book still didn't fully live up to what I wanted in it, or from it. The next question is, what book made you cry the most this year? The only book that I have any memory of crying during this year, at least off the top of my head, is This Star Won't Go Out by Esther Earl. And this is nonfiction. It's just a compilation of Esther's writings and her family and friends. They write about her as well in here. And if you know her story, you know why this is such a hard book to read. She died so young, and she was sick for such a long time as well. So it's really heartwarming, but also really heart-wrenching to read about her experiences. I like that even though she had so many obstacles in her life, she pushed through them to make a difference, and she's just so inspirational. And so reading about her and from her, it was just really emotional. The next question is, what book made you the happiest? I took this to mean as like, what book made you laugh the most? Kind of being the opposite of crying. And so for me, this would be Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson. That book is really about her experiences dealing and struggling with mental illness, and despite, you know, the deep topic, which she does delve into and I do think is really thought-provoking, she's also just very funny and ridiculous throughout it as well. So she takes a lighthearted approach to it, and I personally enjoyed her humor. I could see how people could be turned off by her humor, but to each their own. I found it hilarious, and it really just made my day. So the next question is, what was the best adaptation you've seen this year? And I was originally going to go with Ready Player One, because I was just thinking about movies. Now, admittedly, like, Ready Player One isn't the best adaptation, but it's decent. I don't think it's a horrible adaptation, but it definitely falls short of the book. But then I was thinking about TV shows. And so I think my official answer will be A Series of Unfortunate Events. I am talking about the Netflix series, and I think that they do a great job of adapting the books. They're really taking their time with each book, and I think they did a really good job of finding the right tone, because the books are just such an odd mix of dark, humorous events going on, and I think the show really replicates it very well, and I think it does a fantastic job. So that, to me, I think is the best adaptation that I've seen so far this year. The next question is, what is the most beautiful book that you've gotten this year? I have some props for this. So I couldn't pick just one because I'm not good at making decisions, as you can probably tell from this entire tag. So I'm showing you The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan. So you can just look at that beauty. And then you can also look at my other choice, which is An American Marriage by Tayari Jones, which is also so gorgeous. And when you look at them side by side, you will realize that I clearly like silhouettes. And that's the common theme here. I love silhouettes. They're gorgeous. I love the beautiful colors as well. It just makes my day, honestly. And then the next question is, what is my favorite video that I've made this year? I would have to go with my BookieBox unboxing videos. I absolutely love doing those. They're a lot of fun. They're also really nerve-wracking because, unlike my other videos where I practice what I'm going to say multiple times before I ever get on camera, for the unboxing there's nothing to rehearse because it's all just reactions to the items. So it's all on the spot and I can't redo anything. I have to, stick with what I end up saying in the moment, because it's an unboxing. So it's both nerve-wracking but exciting at the same time. And then the last thing on this tag is to kind of reevaluate your goals. So on Goodreads, I originally made my goal to be 75, and then because I was reading so much, I upped it to 100, and now I'm at 125 as far as my goal. I'm thinking that I'll probably end up somewhere in between there, 100 and 125. I'm not really sure where. We'll see. The reason why I put my why I put my goal at 75 was because I was not reading audiobooks last year, so it's just harder to read that much. But now that I started reading audiobooks, it's really boosted my numbers quite a bit. So now I really don't know what to expect as far as how many books I'll end up reading for the year. So we'll see. I think last year I only read 59 books, something like that. So I'm almost to where, how many books I read last year, and we're halfway through the year. And I definitely would have surpassed that if I hadn't taken that reading slump break. So that's interesting to think about. Another goal I had was to do the 52 books in a year challenge. I'm about halfway through meeting all those challenges, so I'm about right where I should be. And then the only other goal I can think of that I made was to read 5 German books this year. I'm going to amend that now and just make it 1 because I haven't read any German books this year. So it's not looking good for that one. We'll see. Reading German books is very time consuming, and I think this stopped me from even trying at this point. But I do want to, so I'm hoping to at least start doing that in the second half of the year. So we shall see. All right, so those were my goals, and that was the mid-year freakout tag. Please let me know what you think, as always, down below. And as always, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching this video, and until next time.